Welcome to Vision Plus, a program featuring a positive outlook, dealing with everyday situations of marriage, children, and business. Believing Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Teacher, author, speaker, delighting audiences from New York to Sacramento with a heart and message for the people today. Bonnie would like to remind you of the 800 number on the screen. Please feel free to call at any time throughout the broadcast and share your concerns. Leave your prayer request and someone will pray with you. And now, teacher, author, and speaker.
Hello and welcome. You may hear this twice because I said that also when we were in Wasilla, Alaska, interviewing the people from Nome, Alaska. And what you're going to see on this videotape is something I want to encourage you to do, and that's to go to Alaska. Now we went, my husband Tony and I went as a result of our bucket list. Thank you, Mr. Freeman and the people on the bucket list movie. And what we wanted to do was see Alaska, which we had thought about for years and years and years. And we want to see the Aurora Borealis, the northern lights. And also I was to speak to the women of Anchorage, Alaska. And we flew up there because we had taken several cruises. And so we wanted to fly right on into Anchorage. And then we spent the night there, got up the next morning and took the train, the most wonderful, delightful Alaska Railroad train, and took it north, got off at Wasilla, that's where Sarah Palin's from, spent the night there in a resort right on the lake. The most amazing thing, I told Tony, I said, look out here, there's a truck driving out here on the lake and 3 4-wheelers. And then they stopped and they just stayed there for a while. I said, what are they doing? He said, they're ice fishing. They just dig a hole in the ice. Well, actually, they drill one through 15 inches to 3 feet of ice that's over the lake. And they fish and they catch their fish and go home and cook them. And it was just a really incredible time. You cannot believe how beautiful the Aurora Borealis is. There in, as it got late or very clear, cold morning over Lake Lucille, and we could see the aqua. Now this is actually a hand-painted scarf from Alaska, and it is a depiction of the Aurora Borealis with all the gorgeous colors. It's impossible to believe that something could be that vibrant, and so that was really beautiful. And then we got to see the moose, and one of the things that they had there we will probably never see in the headlines of the Huntsville Times, but the Anchorage News said, roadkill, wanted someone to come and clean up the meat, and they actually take the meat to a children's home or some type of facility, a church or a school, and it makes meat for a long time because there's hundreds of pounds of meat on the moose. Now when we were on the trains, we would see, well, one time one over on this side, and one time there was an opening kind of in the clearing of an area, and a batch of them. Someone said they counted 16. I didn't count that fast, but anyway, it was interesting to see the moose. They're big. I didn't realize they were that large, and it was just wonderful people. It supposedly is about the size of Huntsville. I have 270,000 people there, and Huntsville and Anchorage have something in common, and that is they're each one of the top 10 places voted to be the best place to live and work and to raise your family. Now they had some things there that we will not have, even though we had a lot of snow. The snow doesn't stay here like it does there. And we also will not see the headline of roadkill, moose meat. And they have some things that we don't have. You'd think they did. They have a lot of museums about the Native Alaskans and about the history in World War II when they were so involved in the Second World War. And I didn't realize they were that involved in it. And also that this one railroad we took, the Alaska Railroad, there's not a lot of places you can drive to in Alaska. Most every place you go to, you have to take a plane. And when we were in one of the hotels, I asked the young men there what they were doing. They said they were bush pilots, so they fly the people to, whether it's to Nome or, well, Alaska Airlines does go into Nome, but there's a lot of places that only the bush pilots fly into. But if you want a treat of your lifetime, you want to go to Alaska and see it. I am so glad that it was on our bucket list, and also speaking there, and that Tony was willing to go, and it was more than I envisioned. The people are precious. The church was they were so warm, and in fact, one church invited women from a couple other churches there, and they had more that actually turned out than they expected, because I guess they don't have too many speakers come up from the lower 48, especially as far south as we are here in Huntsville, Alabama. When we were at one of the churches in Wasilla, they said, well, we have another visitor here from the south, and from Franklin, Tennessee. And so after church, we went over to see her, and she said her name was Duncan, beautiful girl. And I said, oh, we know some Duncans in Huntsville. She said, I used to live in Huntsville. And I said, I knew Joyce and Curtis Duncan. She said, that's my grandparents. I'm the daughter of Brent Duncan. And I said, Brent, had been our insurance guy for a dozen years. And she was just so precious, and it was so wonderful to see someone there and how they're dedicated to the Lord Jesus Christ. We hope you will be too. Well, watch this and hear about this guy from Nome, Alaska, and his wife, and the trip, and some of the things we did at the seminar too, called Women of the Future. I'll be back in just a moment.
The aurora is one of the Earth's largest natural phenomena and greatest unsolved mysteries. Since time began, the aurora has danced across the polar skies of our world. The sun has ejected highly charged winds at vast speeds towards Earth since its atmospheres were first formed. As these solar winds strike particles 100 to 300 kilometers above us at the edge of space, they create the light we call aurora. From the world's first inhabitants to present-day observers, humankind has been awestruck by the classic beauty of the aurora. The aurora is virtually unpredictable, appearing and disappearing when and where it wants. It may appear in any direction, dance across the star fields for a moment, then vanish as quickly, perhaps to unveil its rare natural splendor again before dawn. Today, science and technology are bringing us closer to understanding the aurora. Our sun, a giant ball of hot gas, has been bubbling and boiling for billions of years. Sunspot regions, many times the size of the Earth, expel massive solar flares, sometimes 1 million miles out into space. The most powerful of these flares are called X-flares. This video, captured in October and November of 2003 by the SOHO Extreme Ultraviolet Imaging Telescope, shows massive sunspot regions 488 and 486 rotating onto the face of the sun. Both regions grew to tremendous size. Initially, all eyes were on region 488 for possible eruptions. Though large and complex, region 488 was soon surpassed by the flare potential of region 486. Without warning, an X17.2 megaflare burst out of region 486, the second largest flare ever witnessed. The next day, an X10 flare burst forth. All were among the largest flares ever observed. Days later, these two eruptions caused breathtaking auroral displays covering great portions of the northern and southern hemispheres of Earth. Multicolored aurora danced in the skies for 3 nights over parts of the world where the aurora is rarely seen. Horizon and rotating from view, it blew off the largest flare ever recorded, an enormous X28 superflare. Had this energetic event been Earth-directed, it might have triggered massive electrical blackouts while compromising worldwide communications, GPS navigation, and orbiting satellites. The resulting auroral display would possibly have been the largest and most colorful ever watched by the world. This is a view of the aurora storming over the continental U.S., Canada, and Alaska. It is a blend of images taken from space, and it demonstrates well the sheer size of the aurora as it sweeps over the Earth. The earliest known references to the aurora in 567 BC were written on slabs of clay known as the Babylonian astronomical tablets. One of these clay tablets records that on the night of March 12, 567 BC, there was a red glow in the west that lasted 2 hours. To anyone wanting to watch the aurora, there are no guarantees. It is difficult to predict the time of night they will appear, or if they will appear at all. But those who are patient may be rewarded with the most spectacular light show on Earth.